Thank you very much. My name is Stefan Heeke. I'm with SumAll.org, and we are a nonprofit that uses data for social impact. So we use predictive analytics to look at issues and see how we can use kind of algorithms to truly have impact on a variety of issues. And I would like to take you through our journey of what we learned last year. And the reason why we're here, I believe, is because we're related to a startup. And the startup is SumAll, and the owners really felt that they had knowledge or they had tools that could be translated to a different environment. And what is really interesting is that I believe the owner, Dane, who's here behind me, he did a couple of startups, and he felt that startups have a particular power that maybe other entities don't have. They have talent, they have an access of ideas, they have technology, and he also felt they have equity. And what he did, I think, is really amazing. He gave 10% of his equity. The founders put 10% of their equity aside and created a nonprofit, SumAll.org. So, and that is really the platform for us to leverage employees, to leverage the technology, to leverage volunteers, to work with data and create impact with data projects. And this was me a year and a half ago. So I worked in marketing, ran digital marketing for a big company. And what I really realized, like having the fortune of having big budgets and available to all these tools, what I really felt was like we're using this machinery to have people click on ads. And I wonder, my desire was really to see, like, what if we use these tools and apply them in a different context? What if we used this and try to solve other problems? And this is how we came together, and this is how we approached SumAll.org, like really using business and enterprise level technology for other kinds of problems. So that's our mission, really, and that's the mission of SumAll, to leverage the power for social impact. And before we go into impact, I want to kind of get you a sense of why data matters, or why predictive analytics are important. And if you look at these risks, there's a huge power in predicting a crisis, or before a person gets homeless, something happens. People stop paying their bills, they may lose their cell phone subscription. So there are a lot of signs that happen before a crisis happens. Or we also work with the Clinton Foundation on prescription drug abuse. If you see that people tweet about it, you get really, in social media, you get indicators of why or what happens before a crisis actually happens. School dropouts or poverty. So really, if we use data in a smart way, we can predict the crisis before it happens. So it's really a way to look at social innovation in a way, and in a preventative way. And I would like to share one project that we did, a pilot project with the city of New York, where we looked at predicting homelessness and finding out which families are becoming homeless. So we could predict family homelessness about 3 to 4 months before it actually happened. And that creates obviously a lot of opportunity for prevention and directing resources to the highest risk and the most vulnerable families. That is the homeless population in New York City in August. So 56,000 people are homeless, but the city of New York has the obligation to house every person. So people do have the right to shelter, but the point in particular with family homelessness is to avoid that. And we work with two main data sets, which are evictions. So the courts are processing evictions. If you get an eviction filing, this information is public. And we were approached by the Department of Homeless Services to match evictions with shelter entries. And what you see here is blue are all the evictions in New York City over the past 4 years. So evictions happen everywhere, but only a very small fraction is followed by a shelter entry. So the evictions that are actually leading to homelessness are only in the range of 2 to 3%. And these are the white dots. And if you look at the white dots, they're obviously geographically located, but we also made an animation, which you can see on the website, where you can see flares. So it's something that is not easily predictable. It's has to do with gentrification or like local trends. And the idea is really, if we can predict the white dots, we can really help families avoid the incidence of homelessness. And this is the same data. So think about the white dots, like people becoming homeless after receiving an eviction. And this is a timeline. So the months that pass between receiving an eviction filing and actually becoming homeless. And the peak is about at the 4 to 5 months, mark. So if we predict homelessness based on evictions, the moment people get evicted, we have 4 to 5 months prevention opportunity. This gives social workers 4 to 5 months time to actually address the issue. And we are not only, so we did a prediction, but we also made sort of a dashboard, if you like, or kind of an operational dashboard. And this is a pilot area in Brooklyn, Bedford-Stuyvesant, where we mapped the evictions for 1 month, but really kind of made an operation center to really look where the high-risk families are. And the red dots are high-risk families, and we gave social workers in the district this information, including the list of names, so they could reach out to the families that have the highest risk. And really the beauty is, and this is maybe also a startup, I think, advantage is iterating, because we gave families a list of names, we gave social workers a list of names. And we felt with 40 names, for instance, it's very easy to prevent, because you would visit the families at home. But it's very hard to enter a home or to enter kind of buildings. And we realized that our initial indication, our initial hunch of how we were going to use the data was not possible. So we literally sat down and said, okay, how can we use this data in a different way? And the solution was really a marketing campaign. So we created a personalized campaign to the highest risk families. And you can see the name, we can make it personalized to the type of eviction, to the situation, how much time is left, and really made it friendly. So think about a marketing campaign to the most vulnerable people, and really explaining in creative terms which options they have available, what they can do, how they can avoid the incidence of homelessness. And we also used Facebook. As you know, you can target Facebook to individuals. We used emails, and we got about 15% of the returns came through digital channels. So people texted us or used emails or Facebook. So I think it's really interesting to use marketing techniques to reach out to the most vulnerable audiences. And this is the application. So the killer application was a letter to the families. And what's really interesting, I think, is that the application can be low-tech. So it's not always an app. The math is pretty complicated, but the application may just be this letter. And it's a low-tech use of data. It's an address, the letter will arrive, and the effect is there. So it doesn't have to be always a complicated implementation to be effective, and particularly in a social impact space where maybe the audiences are not always have the latest technology. And we looked at impact, and we had the fortune to compare different districts. Our pilot district was 303, which is the map you saw. And we could compare to other districts, so we could see the lift of our intervention. We had 3 months to do the pilot. And we could see a lift. Our intake was 50% higher than in other districts. So it's pretty much what you maybe know from marketing. If you kind of do micro-targeting, you get more clients. And the same is true here. You get more and higher risk clients. And we literally could handpick 65 families in addition to the process as what was there before. So this was kind of a very clear business case for using targeting for social services. And social services are very scarce, and I think it makes sense to really make them more targeted. So it was great. If we scaled this to all New York City, it would save 2,000 families. Another example of data is very different topic. We got approached by an organization to look at war crimes, and this is a visualization of how people die in Syria. And we analyzed the difference, like could we detect massacres that may not have been detected in the news? Or are weapons used as a battle tool, or are they used for terror or for war crimes? So we had really interesting insights because about 120,000 casualties are documented in Syria, and you can run algorithms. And we could look at, for instance, snipers are being used as terror tools. They're not, like snipers are not, are pretty much indiscriminately using their weapons. And we could say, okay, this is a war crime, and this is not a battle situation. So there's really interesting applications of data that maybe are not intuitive right away. And we did a couple of other projects, but I think the key thing is maybe the takeaways from doing this for a year and a half. And I think the key word is really social innovation, because I think it's not about charity so much, but really using your innovative mind to solve problems. And I think that's very attractive as an activity. And I think startups have a great position because they just do things. And this is a bit of a cliche, but in the social impact space that matters, because usually you're dealing with governments and you're dealing with academia, and both of them are not. Academia creates great research, and government is not always kind of great at changing things. And startups have a role in just doing things and piloting and iterating. So I think the action bias is important. What we learned also, I was worried that we didn't get the talent, because data scientists are expensive, engineers are expensive, but we got a lot of volunteers who want to participate. And I realized that talent, that people really want to look for meaningful problems. And if you have a good problem, if you have a good, interesting set of tasks or ideas, then people come. And this is one of our staff, and he has been working in academia, and there are many stories. Many people come from finance or marketing, so there's a lot of energy out there where people want to transform their professional career. And there's also business value. I think we overlook, there's a different set of investors who would like to invest. I think just doing social work or social impact work makes you attractive to different investors. We talked about talent, but also customers. I think customers will value that if your company has really that, that sense for social impact. And I think it is a premium to me. I think it's a premium product in a way, because you can, I think, create a lot of value that customers, investors, and talents will see. And it's also about personal transformation. I mentioned that before, that a lot of people go into the space because they want to do something else. And I want to give you some examples. Like, this is a project we did in Haiti about structuring classrooms. And the volunteer who did this got a job in the city of New York as a data scientist. He wasn't a data scientist before, but he did this project. And they called us, and they were looking for a person to do this, to do data science, and he got the job. So he used pretty much volunteering as a way for professional transformation. And this is a person, it's a really great example. He's almost retired, and he's a business analyst. And he has been doing a lot of justice-related analytics for us. And now he's writing his own articles, he's publishing, and he's doing his own projects. And he transformed himself to kind of a justice analyst or investigative analyst. So I think there's a lot of potential also for personal transformation. And just to wrap it up, I think there are different ways to approach it. Maybe your startup has superpowers that may be relevant in a social impact context you haven't thought about. sometimes it's just about making a product available. Maybe you have a premium product, and that product is health-related, and it could be really useful in a different environment, let's say in a developing country. Or maybe your business is already serving a purpose, and you haven't quite framed it that way. Maybe if you, as particular health-related or development-related, maybe you are already a social business. And yeah, leverage your employees. Maybe your employees have a mission, and you can empower them by providing your offices. And last but not least, I think that's how we got created. Think about equity as a way to fund things. So you have equity, startups have equity, and social investors may be willing to liquidate that to fund social projects. And yeah, we're not the only ones. There are lots of organizations out there of different shades, for-profit, non-profit, and it's just look them up. I think they have different models, and it's really good. You know, it's a space that is growing, and I want you to encourage to look into that. And my time is up. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, great.
Thank you very much, Stefan. We actually have time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience. It was a very inspiring presentation, and I'm sure just inspired some thoughts. Does anyone want to have some more insights into how data can be used to make big impact? Well, if there's none from the audience, well, could you tell us more about what's your next steps going to be? What is the biggest possible dream that you might possibly do with data?
Well, I think the projects we have are really interesting. It's a matter of scaling it. So let's say, I think homelessness is a great example where if this is possible in one city, it's probably possible in many other cities. So we're talking to Chicago and other cities, and then also trying to get funders who are willing to kind of solve this problem in their city. So now it's a matter of kind of using this idea and scaling it. And what we learned is the moment you touch data, in particular in the social impact space, you're usually innovating. Because the moment you kind of look at data, there's usually an innovative idea that comes out of that. So there's really a lot of potential, because it's such a virgin space, and there's so little kind of done with technology and data. So wherever you go, you're almost sure to do something really interesting.
Great. Let's give one more hand to... Do you have any more questions? Currently? Okay, one more hand to Stefan. Thank you.
Thank you.